Well, hi again, everybody, and welcome to another episode of 100 Yards of Football. This is our Big Ten preview with Dave Hoffmann, the All-American, the national champion from the University of Washington. Dave, welcome to the show. We appreciate you being on, taking part of your busy day to break down the Big Ten action that's taking place. It starts tonight, Dave. The season is ready to go. I know you can remember from back in the day when all that hard work, all those extra running sprints, weightlifting. Let's get one more set. Let's spend another 5 minutes in the film room, all for getting yourself ready for a night like tonight.
So true. And thinking back to when you're in spring ball and you're training, and that's on the tip of your mind, the tip of your tongue, is that first team. And coaches even strategize at that point, start working some game plan way back then. But it's a big night.
Yeah, absolutely. And it gets started here, the 2025 season. Before it does, and before we do, I just want to have a quick little mention and a shout out to our friend Lee Haney. The Lee Haney Games will be taking place at the Gas South District in Duluth, Georgia on November 1st, Saturday, November 1st. Now, Lee obviously is an 8-time Mr. Olympia. Arnold Schwarzenegger, Ronnie Coleman, some of the great names. Lee's a part of that. And what he has done is put together a competition for bodybuilding that is a precursor to the Mr. Olympia. So if you qualify for the bodybuilding at this particular Lee Haney Games event, you will qualify to go to Mr. Olympia. But it's not just that. There's deadlifts, calisthenics, there's a dance competition, there's a fit kids for ages 6 through 12. So there's all kinds of different ways that you can compete, or you can come to watch some of these great athletes as they participate. So it's for teenagers and for adults. All of the proceeds go to the Haney Harvest House, which helps the local kids in the community. They want to read. They want to learn how to get their education a little bit better. They want to be well fed. LeeHaneyGames.com for details. Make sure that you sign up if you'd like to go. There's also a charity golf event at the Country Club of Gwinnett on October 30th. That's a Thursday if you'd like to help out with the charitable contribution or with an actual appearance at the games itself. Well, Dave, I don't know how many years ago it was when I was a young kid and I'd have a sleepless night the night before. You don't know if you're ready. You've done everything that you possibly can. You've done everything the coaches have told you to do. You've gotten through 2-a-days. You get the bumps and bruises over, but you know what? It's still, there's nerves everywhere. And tonight, especially with the first night, there's 17 college games here this evening, but it gets underway. And the Big Ten obviously is a major focus for this year's action.
Absolutely. And like you said, it doesn't matter how well prepared you are, you're still going to get those butterflies. You're still going to be super excited. And just to finally go out there and unload on somebody else, and besides your teammates who you've been going through camp with and training and back and forth with each other, and it's nice to finally hit somebody and try your schemes out on folks that you don't know so well, and there's so many great teams out there to face up against somebody new with different talents, maybe better than the people you were practicing against even. It gets all those. I could even just feel it with you talking about it, Harp. It just feels, it kind of takes you back. It's usually warm all over the country right now, so guys are going to cramp up and all that, but they're going to have a great time.
Cramping up is a must, I would think. You didn't play if you don't go to sleep after a game, whether it be tonight, tomorrow, or whatever, about 2 or 3 in the morning. No matter how much Gatorade or how many glasses of water you have, your hamstrings are gonna, or your calves are gonna tighten up to the point where you think, I'd rather get shot than have to go through another.
Right. That's right. Exactly. Yeah. Just trying not to scream and waking up the whole family, Yeah.
Great memories, right? Wow.
That's right.
But speaking of great, the conference has some amazing teams this year, and we're looking at some of the top-ranked teams in the country. Penn State's ranked number 2 in the preseason. Ohio State is ranked number 3. You've got Oregon. Dave, when you were growing up, I know my experience out on the West Coast, it was the Pac-8, Pac-12, Pac-10. Right. Now it's all part of the Big Ten, and there's 18 teams in the conference right now, including the 4 from the West Coast. And Oregon right now, I think it's a carryover from last year, it is ranked number 7. Dylan Gabriel's gone. but still amazing team down south of where you're used to playing there in Washington. But
Right.
there's some really, really good football being played out in the West Coast. It just so happens now it's in a different conference.
Yeah, and I think it's so interesting how fast, especially us old Pac-10, Pac-12 guys, our mindset was so locked in on that. And then when it became the Big Ten, there were so many people upset and all out of whack, and in the long run, I think the whole thing's been for very good reasons. But it's so fast how we adapt and adjust, and now everybody's not even talking about that. I don't think that lasted more than 6 months was the hubbub about it all. But now it's just fun to see. What a stacked conference, and what players and coaches and are all over the place. West Coast, Midwest, East Coast, and it's man, it's going to be a battle. It's going to be a war, and it's almost too much to try to predict. You always got the favorites, and of course you mentioned the Buckeyes, and of course they're going to play the Longhorns, and I don't know if there's going to be anybody that's not watching that, and there's some other ones too that are just starting off the season, with the bang, and so it's the way to do it.
Well, you mentioned the Ohio State Buckeyes. Let's go right to it. Saturday at noon, I'm thinking when they take on Texas, and this will be in Columbus, I think if the Texas band shows up, there'll be 4,000 or 5,000 tickets just going to folks with trombones and with tubas, because
Right.
both bands are just absolutely enormous. But really, you couldn't ask for anything better from a pageantry standpoint. But then again, you throw in the specifics of having two teams that played for the national championship going against each other so quickly. I was teasing with a friend earlier today, Georgia Tech and University of Colorado, they're going to be playing tomorrow night. It only took 35 years from when both of them were national champions. They split it back in 1990, I believe it was. And here we have just less than 6 months after the championship, 7 months after the championship game in January, Ohio State and Texas will be playing each other. My recollection of this, for whatever it's worth, is no one would ever from Michigan want to watch this game. No one from Michigan State, no one from Penn State, no one from Oklahoma would certainly want to spend time watching Texas. But I think that tomorrow's game, at least some Sooner fans and maybe a Wolverine or two might take a peek. You think any of that might take place tomorrow? I
I
want to
think
see how good either of these teams are, and to watch them go against each other in week one, that's certainly a match made in heaven.
Yes, Harper. I really I think there's going to be a lot of folks from all backgrounds and locations watching this game, and some of them might have to sneak it, and like you said, the Sooner fans might have to not let it be known that they're watching the Longhorns. But I'll tell you, it's going to be tough not to watch it, and it's going to be, like we've talked about in the past. It's there's so many predictions being made, and so many estimations and guesses. It's really just going to be fun to see what guys look like and see what these how much the players soaked in all the information and schematics during the preseason, and then how healthy and quick and explosive they are, and how they adjust to the opponents. All that kind of stuff is going to really come out in the first week or two, and the thing is, that comes out when you're really playing top-notch opponents, and these guys are getting it right off the bat.
Yeah, no. Any truth to the rumor of, hey, get an extra one for Texas, or hey, run a little bit harder because we've got Ohio State coming up. Did you do any of that when you were getting ready to play Nebraska back in the day when the year that you had the national championship? You played them real early in the year.
That's right.
Was there a leadership? Not just amongst the linebackers or on the defense, but, all throughout the team, the guys that were basically the upperclassmen calling out the others, hey, you got to get ready. I'm going to run extra. You're going to do so as well.
That's a great call. We definitely, you like to think you go, balls to the wall every week, and you do, but there's something special about games like this. And, when you think back, what you mentioned, Nebraska, I think to myself, they were just incredible. When I was growing up, they were, Nebraska Cornhuskers, running that wishbone and going right through people, 75-6 at the end of the game, and that there was a deep respect for teams like that, and definitely you talk about it and you think about it and push a little extra and watch a little extra film. And I'll tell you, like even the scout team, and we had an amazing one up there at Washington when I was there, to give us great looks. They would really play game speed and with perfect execution and really give us the best look they could. And I was always thankful for that.
Well, one of the big games that I know a lot of folks are going to be tuning in tonight is to see how well Boise State ends up doing. They've got South Florida, but Ohio goes to Rutgers. So you've got
Right.
already the New Jersey Staters are going to get excited. Buffalo goes to Minnesota. That game starts at 8 o'clock Eastern. Nebraska, we have them up on the board right now. They're playing at Cincinnati. Miami
Right.
of Ohio is at Wisconsin, and those are the four games tonight that Big Ten fans will get to start with. Do any of those bring an intrigue to you? I kind of
Well,
personally am interested in knowing how the Nebraska Cincinnati game turns out.
yeah, that's that's going to be a good one. And also, I was really thinking about the Miami of Ohio. They surprised some folks, and they're always solid. There's a lot of these teams. Buffalo, some of these teams. I just hope, and I'm sure they haven't, but overlook. The Big Ten teams have got to really make sure that they do their homework and watch the film. And these days it's almost a little tougher for the first game or two because with the portal, I think there's so many changes, and you can try to watch last year's film, right? But because that's all you have. But when you come into these first couple games and you have new players, when you look and think about all the players that come and go, and not just to graduate and get onto the real world or get onto the NFL or whatever, but just guys that stick around. So many starters are replaced, and I think it's a whole new look for these teams. And like I said, when you don't have previous year's film to go off of, which we all would that's all we had back in the day. You're kind of going from scratch, and so that's going to be interesting. Might take some teams, a quarter and a half to kind of meld in to what the other team is doing, especially if they've got new schemes and plays, and then also to adapt to the new players. It's going to be interesting.
You bring up a point that years and years and years ago, I was just beginning to do games. I was on a pregame show, and my co-host said the most difficult coaching job in the football world is for a high school coach. And the reason for that is because from one year to the next, you really don't know what you're going to have. You may have a bunch of big heavies in an offensive line, and it's 4, 5, 6 yards in a cloud of dust. When they graduate, now you got a bunch of skinny kids. And you're never lacking for small kids in a high school, right? There's always going to be some small kids. But how do you learn to win with that? You have to adapt. You may not be able to run the same system that you did with the skinny little guys as you did with the big heavies. So I respected him saying that. I'm now kind of creeping in, especially with some of the universities there that they had a bad year the year before, or a coaching staff changes, and you go to the portal like what Dion did at Colorado. They had over 70 players that weren't on the team from the previous year. So it's a very interesting point. I didn't know what I was going to see at Colorado. They could have gone with a wishbone or a single wing or something like that, but they came out slinging it because you have to do what your talent allows you to do. And that changes when you got 60, 70, sometimes more players that you've never seen before on the campus.
Yeah, so true. And I think that's when it really comes back down to focusing on the basics. Focus on the guy in the mirror and the team that you're looking at in the huddle. Focus on yourselves is what I'm saying, and don't try to guess too much on what they're doing. Be well prepared and be able to adapt with whatever they come out with, and that's part of these guys being smart, and that's something I think we'll talk about a lot down the road. Is just all the thoughts and schemes and things that go into the week-to-week planning. And it's going to be interesting the first couple of weeks. I think there'll be a couple surprises. I'm not quite sure where they're going to pop out at, but it'll be interesting either way.
Yeah. Well, a surprise for me, Dave, is they're still doing it. I don't personally like it, but plan on Friday. That usually is where the high school, leave that alone. Don't mess
Right.
with the high school games. Don't
That's
play
right.
college games on Friday. But this year there are going to be 11 of them, and that includes Western Michigan going to Michigan State. That's Friday at 7 o'clock Eastern. Western Illinois will go to Illinois.
Mm.
Illinois is ranked number 12. They're a surprise to me there right now. I'm not saying they don't deserve to be there, but it's a surprise. Usually, my thoughts about the Illini is it's a hit and miss. Every 3 or 4 years, they might have a good team. They might finish second or third in their division with the Big Ten, but they were good last year. Not great, but I think there are people enough of their returning letterman to have people thinking in those that are in the right place at the right time, especially in the press and media. Watch out for these guys; they're going to be pretty good.
Right, right. I definitely agree. The Illini have proven themselves over and over to be solid, um, good team, a bowl team, and but I know they're looking for more. I know they're looking to kind of get to that next level, and it's going to be interesting to see, um, how they adjust with the new players and how they if they can take the step and really go out, cause some turnovers, take care of the ball on offense, and really establish somebody on offense that the opponents really have to focus on. So other things open up for them. So, for example, play action pass and that kind of things. Really establish maybe a running back or a receiver that the other teams really got to worry about. Which you know. Harper, as you know, when there's a star on the other side of the ball, you spend half the week just focusing on that, and the rest of the time that's normally spent on team effort and focus on what everybody's going to do. You're all focused on this one individual. It takes a lot of practice time away from what you really want to get done, but there's no other way around it. You really have to figure out how you're going to shut down this guy that you have to put a target on. So it's going to be important for them to establish a guy or two early and then take care of the football.
Yeah, you bring up a great point. We had a great wide receiver like Johnson with Ohio State. Everybody and their brother knows how good he is. Well, you better stop the run if you're spending all your time at practice and trying to stop him, and you give up 9 yards in gashing style
That's
against an
right.
offensive line that big. You got to do it all, don't you? There's no one
That's right.
aspect.
That's
You
right.
better get it all done.
That's
Well,
it.
speaking of getting it done, let's do this. Let's get. I've got a bunch of games on Saturday, and many of these are going to be openers that obviously are going to get national attention. In Texas, Ohio State. Anything else we need to say about that? I know we touched it earlier, but I honestly believe that this is the first time that Texas has ever been ranked number one in a preseason poll. So
Wow.
that's neat territory. But the fact that they played each other now, minus some of the seniors who've gone on, but this is Arch Manning's. This is his breakout game.
Right, right. And one thing that I do want to comment on is I think sometimes there's too much pressure and media stuff and all this that can be put on one player, but I think in a way it's almost a blessing for Manning. Appears to be the kind of guy that can shoulder that and take things and put everything in perspective. At least that's how he comes across to me, and
Yeah.
it seems like that's going to help the rest of the team out, and that's going to help kind of deflect media, words, all these kind of things, and attention, which ends up being time, and it helps guys relax a little bit before the game, which is going to be big. The Buckeyes have always had a spotlight on them all over the place. They're used to it. They're ready, and it's just going to be one of these games that you really just have to sit down and get some popcorn and turn your phone off. It's going to be fun.
Yeah. You mentioned Arch.
Yeah,
Sarkisian brings him in. Remember, he red shirts. Then
yeah,
he's got to sit behind Quinn Ewers. They think Quinn comes back and then plays well. They get a national championship run. Can't be much better. Imagine being a senior that graduates from the University of Texas. Let's say you get your degree in business or whatever,
right,
whatever your
right.
degree is in. I almost want to stick around and say I flunked the class so I can take it over again, so I can be on the campus during this time. This could be the year in the season that Texas has been dreaming of now ever since, Vince Young was there, or back into the Fred Akers era.
Right. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I remember those days.
They are
Not to
loaded
date
with talent
myself. Yeah.
everywhere, and for them to go to Columbus and win this game, that would be an enormous hurdle. However, let's took a Big Ten. We're talking about
That's
them
right. Yeah.
for Ohio State to lose how many first rounders that they have, and their
That's
quarterback
right.
is gone, and trying out all this new stuff, and
Great
new set of
defense.
running backs, and for them to stop Texas in their building. That would be a trend-setting game and interesting victory. So either way you play this, there's a lot on the line.
Oh, it's going to grease the skids for them if they really have a great game. And I'm guessing they will. I think it'll be within one score at the end of the game. But that's just me talking. But the interesting thing is we talk about these quarterbacks and this and that, and but it's always so true when you look at these championship teams. Yeah, they have a very reliable quarterback, this and that, but they're able to run the ball, and the defense is able to stop the run, and that's something that gets overlooked sometimes. And the guys in the trenches, are the big D tackles, the offensive line. It really comes back down to those guys dominating. And it's the cloud of dust, like you said. Nobody sees them, but that's really where the war is, and it's going to be fun to watch. And these guys are going to bring it. Obviously the Buckeyes love smash mouth, and they've got receivers, always have a quarterback that can sling it, but they really like to smash, and it's going to be a war. I think it's going to be like a lot of open the game with just some 9-on-7 type stuff. The old practice where it's just run, and just kind of see what you have. And it's going to be fun to see how the Longhorns respond.
Well, there isn't a school in the Big Ten that doesn't know the motto from either Woody Hayes or Bo Schembechler. All of them were like, "Hey, defense wins," and
That's
we're
right.
going to stop. We're going to stop everybody else at what they do. So we mentioned that Ohio State and Texas game. That's at noon. Also at noon, Florida Atlantic goes to Maryland. Ball State will play at Purdue. That's at 12 o'clock as well. Here's one that I'm kind of worried about if I'm a Wildcat fan. Northwestern has to go to Tulane. Tulane had a team last year. They were one victory away from being, everybody goes, they're another to watch. But, for them to be in the playoff and there with the conference and all that. Old Dominion goes to Indiana. That's a 2:30 game.
Indiana,
Eddie pulled something from James Madison and the hard work. And in my opinion, the 2 and 3 stars that nobody wanted, that went to James Madison and said, "Sir, I'll do whatever you tell me. I don't care. I just want to play and I want to win." And he took a bunch of those guys with him to Indiana. They gladly followed. They made a huge difference for him. Can he carry that over for this year?
I believe, yes, I believe so. And I think that's just what he and his staff and crew are made of. And I think it's going to be, I think anybody that overlooks these guys at all is making a huge mistake. And on top of that, it's not just me talking. They're going to show it. They're going to prove it, and they're going to establish just that, like you said, the kind of guys that the kind of guys that you want to go to war with, the kind of guys that are reliable and that you can count on, bright, hardworking, appreciative of each other. Those are the guys that are going to be dangerous. And so watch them, not only this first game, but all throughout the year.
Yeah. Chip on their shoulder. I didn't get recruited to Michigan or Ohio State or Penn State, but I'm here at Indiana, and let me show you what I can do. Let me go in the weight room and, not be told that I'm not going to play because there's 3 All-Americans in front of me. Give me a chance to do what I can do. I think the coaches that are able to take advantage of that type of kid, and put them out on the field, and if you have enough, obviously, talent around them, you can make dreams come true, so to speak. It's an amazing thing.
So
and Hopefully Indiana does build and say, we got to get a little more money. We're going to NIL it the right way. Bring in 2 or 3, 5 guys that can help play and start for us right away. Interesting phenomenon.
Very,
But if
very.
anybody is going to do it, it's Kurt Signetti, and he's a fantastic guy. He's proven wherever he goes that
That's right.
he can help you win football games. All right, so the Old Dominion at Indiana, that's at 2:30. At 3:30, Nevada comes into Happy Valley and plays against Penn State. I hope they score. I want Nevada to score on their opening drive and get a touchdown, an extra point, and then I want them to take pictures of the scoreboard and say it's 7-0, and then they can go after that because I think this will absolutely be a blowout. I'm not saying that to be disrespectful to
No.
Nevada. I'm just saying unless you are a top 10 team right now, Penn State's on a mission. And I think
Yes.
Tony Franco, he's got a tremendous amount of pressure on him, especially with that number 2 ranking.
So true, Harper. And the thing is, these guys are going to be so excited, like we talked about at the start of the show, just to unload on somebody new. And I think it's almost going to be like a bomb going off. You're going to just hear the pads and the helmet smack, and it's going to be a literal bomb going off, and they're going to. All this has been cooped up, and now it's time to let it go. And so this is the moment. Even though this is not the biggest opponent they're going to face all year, obviously it's the first game and the first. You don't want to say fresh meat, but it's the
It
first
is.
opponent. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There may be guys on Nevada's team like a freshman who
Sure.
letters
Yeah.
just on
Right.
kickoff return. There could
That's right.
be
There
60,
you go.
70
Yeah.
points being scored.
It'd be a great experience for him too. So yeah.
All right. A couple other games. All right. So the Penn State, they're at home at 3:30. At 4:00, Montana State at Oregon. Now, Oregon's ranked number 7 right now. You've played against Oregon. You know that you got a feel for their campus.
Yeah.
I'm surprised that they're there to be that high. I thought there were a lot of guys that they had from last year that are now trying to play in the National Football League, but
Right.
I must be wrong.
Right.
Tell me what
Well,
your initial thought is about Oregon this year.
yeah, my initial thought is just and with the preseason rankings, I just think it's a little. I agree, it's a little high, but maybe they'll prove me wrong, and that's what we're here for. So I kind of saw them coming in, around 15, 18, something like that, and
Yeah.
then working their way up and proving themselves a little bit. But that's it is what it is, and I don't like to use that phrase, but that's kind of just the deal. And it's going to be an experience for the fans. They're loud down there. I think they hated me when I was a Husky. Well, I'm always a Husky, but hated me more than I thought about them. But I
Yeah.
remember some dog biscuits coming down out of the stands and chomping on a couple of them just to entertain them, and it was good times, and we always took care of business down there, but they've been dominant, and they're bringing in fantastic players all over the place, and I believe they're going to have at least a shot at it for a while. We'll have to see how the season goes, but they're going to at least have a shot if they're as good as the pollsters say they are. We'll probably see them later.
Well, what surprised me last year is you bring in 4 West Coast teams into the conference: SC, UCLA, Oregon, and your Huskies. And to have Oregon win the West the way that they did, that was a complete surprise to me. And I think it might have been a surprise to some Midwesterners going, yeah, these guys, come on, they're not ready. I'm worried about SC, but I'm not worried, but SC they lost their quarterback, so I'm not really worried about them. For Oregon to just come out and dominate and beat the Buckeyes the way that they did in a close game, right?
Yeah.
But I think they earn the respect, and there's some folks out there. Well, maybe they don't play just finesse ball out there on the West Coast. They can play with us.
You mentioned earn the respect, which is I believe the perfect term for it, because I think when you think back to Big Ten, you think about the weather getting colder, all grass fields mainly, and this and that, and just playing that smash mouth downhill run, and which Oregon that's not always been their forte. Let's just say that, and what these guys establishing themselves offensively and defensively as tough, hard nosed guys. that can get after it, and beating the teams that you just mentioned. I mean, those guys are warriors. Those guys are some of the best in the country, and those teams are loaded. And so for them to do that in that kind of fashion, I think that really the the marks that adjectives that we use for some of these teams are kind of starting to change a little bit, and especially with the Big Ten, you don't see the Ducks all the time, and now you're going to see them all the time. So you're going to probably have some new thoughts about them.
Well, I think their coaching staff listened when Schembechler and Woody Hayes said, "Hey, you got to win with defense," and so they beefed up where they needed to. Inside, you can't run up the middle against us, but we're still going to try to score 35 points a game, and we may score 50, and you're going to have to keep up with us. The run and gun Oregon Ducks, that's the team I'm familiar with from the early 2000s, and even before that, that was the way that they would beat you with speed, and now they're doing it with a little bit of power as well.
Exactly. You got to have both if you want to cross the be in the top 4 at the end of the year.
Yep.
No doubt.
Well, all right. We're going to look at so they Montana State goes to Oregon at 4:00. Again, that's Eastern time. Albany, New York takes on Iowa. That's at 6:00. I'm not sure what to make of Iowa. I know every year that they're going to be right there. They're going to be, but some years they're right there. They're knocking on the door, and they end up losing to Michigan in week 10. Or something like that.
Yeah.
And other times, they lose to Iowa State at the beginning of the year. You don't think anything of them, but next thing you know, they've got 8 or 9 wins.
And they run the table. You're exactly right. There's no way to put your thumb on what's going to happen. At least from what I know about the Hawkeyes are they roll. They've always got players. They've always got a solid, firm coaching staff. But there's there's just no guessing on what kind of quality offensive defense they're going to have. It's just and sometimes in the past too, I've seen these guys shoot themselves in the foot with some special teams foul ups and some fumbles and just ridiculous interceptions that over the past few years that it's always the little things. You hate saying that, but it really is. And if you're a great team, then the little things are nothing. You just step right over them. But the Hawkeyes have got to do everything right. They got to do it all right all year long.
Yeah. Well, New Mexico ends up going to Michigan. That's a 7:30. That could be another one of those games where you're going to let her on kickoff return team.
There you go. Exactly.
I think Michigan. They've had some problems. They've had some issues since they won the national a couple years ago, trying to get it back together again. But do you think anyone from Ohio might kind of creep in, especially if they win against Texas? They might want to see a little bit about what Michigan's got. Maybe not against New Mexico, but certainly you want to see what they've got in their tank.
Yeah, the interesting thing is, just to see what the guys look like and players look like on the field, and how certain guys that are coming off of injuries look, under game speed. But really, I'm not sure how much the Wolverines are gonna show out there on game day. I think they're gonna do what they've got to do, and probably, like you say, get the twos in there, and protect the starters' health and this and that. But again, you've got to get out, at least get your guys a lather and go out there and prove yourself like you do every game. And that's the thing. But hopefully get them off the field before too long.
Yeah, New Mexico will probably $1.5, maybe $2 million for that game. They'll pay for their budget for the next year, but they got to go to Ann Arbor to do that. Missouri State at USC, that's at 7:30. Utah at UCLA. That would be, if we were out in the pack again, that Utah UCLA game would mean a heck of a lot more than it does right now. But Utah, they recruit well. They pull a bunch of Southern Cal kids out, and they play like the kids I was telling you. I'm a 4-star, and I'm at Utah. I should be playing somewhere else, but watch out for the Utes.
They've got an attitude, and they always play with it. And I'll just tell you, I love the way they play. I like the way their coach has them going, and the Bruins better strap it on.
Yeah, I agree. All right, well, last game, let's do I think we're going to bet $1. Is that pretty much what we're going
Let's
to do?
do that.
11
Yeah,
o'clock
a
Eastern.
dollar and a quarter. Yeah,
$1.25. So there'll be interest that goes into this, where your UW Huskies take on my Colorado State Rammies. Now, we did not know this a couple months ago. I didn't know what the schedule was, so this is a surprise for both of us. But Dave, talk a little bit about your Huskies. What's the expectation up there in Seattle?
Well, they're lost a lot of starters off the defense, in particular. They've got some good guys coming back on offense. They've got great guys coming back on defense too, just not quite as many. But Demon Williams is proved himself as a great quarterback, a good athlete, stays calm under pressure. What I was really impressed with as a freshman, just the way, just his composure, his adjustments, calling audibles when needed, and it tells you a lot also that Jed Fish, the newer head coach, just started with us a couple of years ago up there, allows him the freedom to make. I don't want to say as many audibles as he'd like, or jump to the second play like on his call, and not always, they don't babysit him, and I think that says a lot about Williams and his ability and his mindset and how he looks at the game. I guess in a way, just kind of his maturity. He looks great. He moves well, and then of course he's got Coleman behind him to hand the ball off to, or at least distract the defense. And so he stuck around for his senior year, and that's going to be a serious bonus and a serious threat. He had 1,000 yards rushing last year, and he was only probably getting 60% of the carries. So they've got lots of running backs up there, and then Boston is back, the receiver, and amazing guy. Not just on the deep ball, but also running short routes, running these option routes, and cutting them just at the perfect time, and having that relationship with the quarterback. It's just a feel, an unspoken thing that when it's when you have that, it really allows the quarterback to be free, allows the receivers to be free. And what I think it's going to come down to on offense is just the offensive line. We've got some new pieces in there, and trying to see what if they can establish the run, and get down and root hog and push the line and working that zone blocking scheme, and letting Coleman hit it and cut back when he wants, and just kind of develop that over time. And then of course the play action pass is going to be what comes off of that in the boot. And like we were saying before, Williams has got great feet. He can run. He's shifty, and he's going to be a treat to watch. And then on defense, it's going to be they're just loaded, and it's a lot of new guys, but they come in and they've got the D tackles are solid. They've got a little experience, and them along with the linebackers are going to be crucial for stopping the run, obviously, and just kind of setting the tone for the rest of the defense. And one thing, Harper, I was thinking about is the edge rusher has gotten so much more. It was big back when I was in college, and now it's almost all a lot of people talk about on defense. And I see I definitely see the value in it, but I also think that you've got to have these defensive tackles and linebackers in there to stop the run first and make them have to pass. And that's kind of when you see these defensive ends getting into a sprinter stance and thinking, they've got to throw the ball. I'm getting off like I'm going to set a world record 100-meter time, and that's been fun to watch. Do you notice these edge guys really are becoming more and more important?
Oh, absolutely. But
yeah.
I think like anything, it's the Swiss Army knife. Can he also cover if we ask him to go take a running back in the flat, or does he stunt well, or is he so fast that he's skinny and then he can't get past a 300-pound offensive lineman? You need to really have a little bit of everything, and that's not easy at the college level to have with a guy that hasn't really fully developed as an athlete
Yeah,
yet. But there are some
yeah,
guys that do have it. Don't get me wrong. There are plenty that they make it happen, and they're first rounders. You see a lot
exactly.
more edge rushers going in the first, second, third round because there's a premium on the position.
Well, that's right, exactly. And so we've got Lane and Durfee are going to be the starters for the Huskies this year off the edge, and they're gonna really get after it. And then the new defensive coordinator Walters, who Ryan came in from Purdue, and I'm really excited to see what he's going to do. Um, so the word is he's into these 5-man fronts, which I'm guessing some of them kind of look like some of the stuff we used to do. We copied some of the old Chicago Bear 46 stuff, which we
Yeah,
play back in the day, and go to that. Not just on short yardage, but you could use it all the time, or you could move or shift to it, stem to it, and it was a valuable thing. You could play man or zone out of it, and it's just a different look, and it's something that really even if they try to throw the ball, there's somebody going to be in the quarterback's face and probably about 1.6 seconds, and so
hmm
it's going to be fun to watch that and see how the overall see how the team develops. The secondary is going to have to prove itself. I don't know if how much the Rams are going to try to throw the ball, but I'm sure at some point they're going to. Hopefully, from my point of view, they're going to have to. So, that's the deal. But they definitely know that Colorado State always comes with it, and they've got a reputation of being hard-nosed players, great players, great teammates, and it's going to be fun to watch.
You mentioned the 4.6 real quick. Just
Yes, yes,
the 4.6 in a 46 means absolutely nothing except
right.
it's the jersey number of
See,
Gary Fensick, who was
Fensel,
the
yes,
safety. So what you need to know if you're just tuning in and you don't really understand what a 4.6 is, you're
that's
just
right.
dropping one of the safeties into the box and you're
Yeah,
going to put 8 men up against a run. You're daring a team to throw. And
that's
remember the
right.
Bears in 85, the only loss that they had was against the Miami Dolphins. And Dan Marino and Mark Duper and Mark Clayton,
That's right.
they dared you to please drop into a 46 because I'm going to throw over the top. And that's one of the things even Jim McMahon said. You throw play action at this 46 defense, you have a chance to beat us, but you're stopping the run. And it worked for
Exactly.
the Bears all throughout the season. So that's one thing. I want to ask you, are you more
Yes.
surprised with Washington? Let's go back last year, the 2024 season. They finished 4-5 in the conference. They were 6-7 overall. Here's let me ask you: 6-0
Yeah.
at home, 0-5 on the road.
It's kind of sickening and makes you wonder. And when you think about it too, just be honest. Some of those home games are some of the non-conference ones. Though I don't want to say they're gimmies, right? But they're games that you should probably win. And so it was tough. It was tough to watch it, and it was there were some great hits and that kind of stuff happening on the defense, but they're 8 yards downfield, and so the whole mentality I think of first and second down, and I'm talking from the defensive point of view, is crucial. Crucial to to getting off the field and getting third down, and the and then the other thing is too, Harper, and of course I'm talking from the defensive point of view, but
Sure.
is to you're talking about turnovers. Well, I call them takeaways, and because really it's sometimes they drop the ball is an easy pick, but think about that when you're breaking the huddle. Think, if I can get my hand on the ball, or if I get a chance to punch it or lawnmower and rip it, or whatever, I'm going to do that. And I think you need to practice that way and talk about it with your teammates and kind of just have a chatter about it. So it's always in your head. And so you're always thinking about ripping that ball out. And then once you get it, hey guys, let's scoop and score, and have that mentality too. And I think the defense can really help them turn around and at least, I'd love to see them win, 8, 9 games and get things moving.
Well, let's take a look at the schedule. Actually, one of the things before we do that, it's contagious. You work really hard at it, and in practice, you're punching the ball out and doing whatever. Yeah, they're giving it to me. Stop it. This isn't working. When it does work, and you get one in a game, you
Yes,
create a fever where
that's it.
teams will start doing it. It is an amazing, simple little drill. You don't have to spend a whole heck of a lot of time, but some teams don't spend any time on it. So I'm glad that you guys worked on it. And when
Yeah.
you get it out, you just look around you look at the coaches, especially. It worked. It worked.
That's it. There it is. There it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So a little comment on that. All right, let's take a look at the Husky schedule. Colorado State is the week one opener. Then UC Davis next. Okay, we shouldn't have to worry too much about that. This is a surprise for me. The Apple Cup will be in week 3, and you got to go to Pullman to go play in Cougar Country in the 3rd week of the year. Then you've got Ohio State. That's at home. Maryland. You go to Maryland, so you got to go all the way across the country. That's not an easy trip. Rutgers, then at Michigan, against number 12 Illinois after that, then at Wisconsin, Purdue, UCLA, and then you finish up with a team that's ranked number 7 in the country right now. Your new rival, excuse me, is against the Ducks. So anything in there that sticks out to you?
Well, I'm just looking at it. I'll tell you what. Some of these games that look like should be a win are when you look at the previous weeks ahead of it. So when you look at Rutgers and they're playing Ohio State and Maryland right before that, and if Maryland's got a good squad, there's going to be some injuries. There's going to be some of these games that you think should be definite wins are going to be a battle, I believe. And then you're talking about Michigan and Wisconsin and Ohio State. This Big Ten is loaded, and there's no, it's awesome, and I've just got to admit it that this and the Big Ten taking in the teams that they did, and of course, I reminisce and have nostalgia about the old Pac-10 and this and that, being on the West Coast, but I'll tell you, it's going to be fun to watch, and there's no way to know. And here we are, getting ready for week 1, and we really have no idea how things are going to go. We've got guesses. We all guess, and we and there's a million shows on what's going to happen, but none of us really do, and it's going to be fun to watch. I mean, Penn State. I mean, these teams are just so loaded with so many great coaches, so many great players. Players that are actually honored to play at these places and working hard, great facilities, great fan bases. They travel well. The whole thing is going to be great.
Yeah, I'm excited. Now, if Washington ends up 4, 5, 6 games into this, there isn't anybody that can complain, well, the schedule's light. Yeah, Colorado State and UC Davis at the beginning, but then again, your arch rival is in week 3. You play
Right.
the number 3 team in the country, at least right now. Then you got Michigan, Illinois, and Oregon, all in the 6-week time frame. This is a loaded schedule. You can get invited to a playoff coming through this unscathed. This is absolutely a tough enough, hard enough schedule.
That's the way to look at it.
Nobody
Harper.
can complain.
Exactly. No, so Coach LaBelle. That's exactly how you say it. This is coming through this. You come through this, and you keep fighting week to week, hour by hour, and you'll be in the playoffs. And that's exactly how they got to look at it. I think that's the great way. It's a challenge, and it's kind of an ultimate challenge, and it's a beautiful thing. And I think what these guys are starting to realize, back in the day, 3 or 4 teams in the Pac-10, but really it's probably two or three, and here you've got almost double-digit amazing teams that it's going to be a battle every week, and I think all it's going to do is help the level of competition, and it's going to be fun as heck to watch.
Yeah, it's a loaded schedule, not only for Washington, but for so many of these teams that are in the conference. We look at Illinois' schedule, and we will. Not today though, but we're just going to Iowa. I mean, every one of it. You got to play almost every quarter like your Survivor survivalship with the playoff is at
Right.
stake.
Right. And I
And
think
that,
and I think with a lot of these guys, excuse me, they're these coaches, you can see why the it's kind of looked a little bit more like the NFL than the old college. The college practices and things look more like Bear Bryant, with our hair on fire every day. And this and it's come into longer season, more loaded conferences where every week is a big game. It is almost like your rival game or whatever, and it's just it's really in the portal. It's taken on a whole new look, and it's just fun to see it evolve.
yeah, and it starts tonight. The Boise State game is this evening. Ohio at Rutgers. Again, if you're a Big Ten fan, you want to talk about Buffalo and Minnesota. Nebraska at Cincinnati. That's at 9 o'clock Eastern, and also Miami of Ohio will be in Madison to take on the Wisconsin Badgers. Any final thoughts, Dave?
You know what? Just had a great time with you, and it's fun to think ahead and wonder what it's going to look like, and it's just so fun to live in this country with this beautiful game, and here
Yep.
it goes.
Yep, here it is, another season ready to kick off the 2025. And before we go, we just like to say, we know how important recruiting is, and it helps you in so many different ways to be competitive and to stay above the rest. ZipRecruiter certainly understands that. Finding the right candidate to hire is like finding a needle in a haystack in some respects in different circumstances. And it's also being able to find the right recruit to fill in and to plug and play into your lineup. ZipRecruiter, though, they help you find amazing candidates, and they help you to do so quickly. And right now you can try it for free at ziprecruiter.com/audio, AUDIO. You can immediately start posting your jobs, and ZipRecruiter will use their matching technology, which will show you qualified people that will help fill those positions very fast. ZipRecruiter's pre-written quote invite to apply unquote message service allows you to invite candidates to apply for a specific position based on what their resume is and how you think they'll fit and will work within your company. You encourage them to apply sooner by doing that. So ditch all the other sites, get rid of all of them, and let ZipRecruiter be the replacement that you're looking for and finding the needle in the haystack. 4 out of 5 employers who use ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate on the first day. And you can try it for free at ziprecruiter.com/audio. That's ziprecruiter.com/AUDIO. The smartest way to hire, it's ZipRecruiter. Well, for Dave Hoffmann, I'm Harper LaBelle. And Dave, it's been a pleasure being a part of this exciting season, which is just getting ready to be underway. At this time next week, one of us is going to owe the other $1.25. I certainly hope that I don't have to send it to you by PayPal or Zoom or anything like that. But I'm going to say go Rams to finish the show. How will you end it?
I say go Huskies, and let's have some fun on Saturday, this whole weekend, watching these games, and our alma maters get after it.
Yeah,
Cheers.
This is one of the few times of the year, and especially when the NFL takes a seat, right? They got to recover from not playing in the preseason. So we'll talk about that some other time. But college football is here amongst us, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy it the best that you can, whether it be from your own home or a favorite place to watch with wings, with chips, with whatever it is. But it's here, and it starts tonight. So thank you so very much for tuning in. We appreciate it. For Dave Hoffmann, I'm Harper LaBelle. You've been watching the Big Ten Preview. We appreciate you being a part of it. Have a fantastic rest of your day.